You're listening to the Modern Mainframe, BMC's Intelligent C Optimization and Transformation podcast, covering the latest trends and issues in mainframe DevOps, data, operations, security, and cloud. You've never mainframed like this. Hello there. Welcome to the Modern Mainframe. I'm Matt Dallaire. It's hard to believe, but 2025 is already well underway. And today we're looking at what's to come in artificial intelligence for the mainframe in the coming year and into the future. Joining me for today's discussion are Intellyx Director and Principal Analyst Jason English, and from BMC, DevOps Evangelist Tony Anter, Principal Product Manager Liat Sokolov, and R&D Solutions Architect Anthony DiStauro. Jason, Liat, and the Anthonys, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks to have.
Jason, I'll let you take the lead here, but I have a question, kind of set the stage for today's discussion. You know, mainframes have been the backbone of critical systems for decades, running everything from banking transactions to airline reservations. Why do organizations continue to rely on them, and how can AI help?
That's a good question, Matt. As the need for mission-critical availability and tight security and scalability keeps increasing, so too we're seeing computing power increase on the mainframe. So it still remains the beating heart of the enterprise. The technology is keeping pace with what we could do with cloud computing, and we're finding that in some ways it has some better characteristics and easier failover than cloud resources can have. Commodity hardware and what's out there available right now. So therefore, the ability to co-locate IA inferencing along workloads, such as fraud detection and transaction settlement alongside the transaction and data storage and workload capabilities of mainframes, it offers a lot of latency and security advantages to have those kinds of logic happening at the same time. So, we're starting to see some very specialized AIs operating on the mainframe as workloads that are a critical part of our transactions. However, we're going to face a serious conundrum, because even if we start to rely on AI to do more work with the mainframe, we need to augment our team's capabilities to understand what is happening on the mainframe so that we know what the needed changes are, and then we can resolve issues that do arise on the mainframe. And it'll never really operate in fully unattended mode, right? So we absolutely need to bring team members along on this journey and to build an understanding among them, as to what is happening inside the mainframe in order for these investments to be sustainable for the long term. Fortunately, generative AI can also be very effective as a bridge between human language and understanding and the deep knowledge required to maintain our core mainframe systems. So yeah, it's very interesting time in mainframe computing to see AI being used as that sort of bridge. I think let's, to go from here, Tony, many organizations are hesitant to adopt AI for mission critical systems due to concerns about reliability and control. And how can businesses ensure that hybrid AI enhances rather than disrupts their existing mainframe operations?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I think that throughout time, teams, people, individuals have never wanted their cheese moved, right? Everybody wants their job to be stable and somewhat consistent, even though we're all in the business of innovation, and we're in the business of change, and we're in the business of solutions and bringing new capabilities to market. At the same time, people want to know that if I come into work on Monday, it was the same basic job that I was doing on Friday. And I think that, a lot of people are scared that AI is going to come in and take over. It's going to be able to do everything. And I think that's a misconception. I think that, science fiction movies have done us no favor in this area. And I think that that's a misconception. I think that AI is just another tool. Like in the same way that people were resistant to automation when it first came along. What do you mean I'm not going to take the change and push it onto the system, and I'm going to be the one to make sure it comes up? Over time, that got automated to a system, and it didn't really take people's jobs away or capabilities away as much as it enhanced what they were doing. An analogy I've used a lot is back in the day when you built a house, you used hand tools and you had to manually carry your logs and split them and do everything that you needed to do. And now you have bulldozers and, cement mixers and electric tools to be able to enhance that. It didn't mean that you're not building a house. It just meant that now it's become easier. How can we make it easier for businesses? I think on that same token, don't try to peanut butter AI into everything, especially into areas that it does not make sense for AI to weigh in. I think since this is the early days of AI, it is moving at light speed, but it did just come up 8 minutes ago. So I think that, we need to have AI lean into those use cases where AI can do the job best and where AI makes a lot of sense. And I think if you want consistency and you want real return on your value, don't overplay it, but don't underplay it. Make AI a part of the process where it makes a lot of sense for AI to assist your individuals and assist your teams becoming better. And that's how I think teams will move forward with AI, and that's how I think they'll maintain that control. And I think over time you're going to see a lot of stuff fall out, but what's left is going to be awesome.
Agreed. Yeah, we're definitely in the last second of the last hour of the day in terms of the technology timeline that we're on here. So we're definitely in that last bit. Liat, with organizations depending on mainframes for 24/7 uptime, how can hybrid AI proactively detect and resolve performance issues before they escalate?
Yeah, thanks for this question. So I think if we can imagine having this AI powered guardian that never sleeps, constantly watching over your mainframe. It's not just monitoring, right? It's anticipating, learning, and even guiding your teams toward the best course of action before problem spirals into a crisis. So let's take a real world example. A financial institution is running nightly batch jobs, processing millions of transactions, generating reports, reconciling data. Suddenly, a critical job fails due to a data integrity issue, for example. In the past, this would trigger a 2 a.m. scramble, manual log diving, frantic calls, and hours of lost productivity. But with hybrid AI, the response is immediate and intelligent. So we have the rule-based AI instantly recognizes a missing data file as the cause, for example, flagging it for immediate attention. Then we have machine learning detects the pattern. This failure has happened before under similar conditions, predicting that it may happen again. And lastly, generative AI steps in a way that it is explaining the issue in plain language, suggesting corrective actions, and even providing ready-to-use remediation scripts. And the result? Instead of hours of downtime and costly escalation, the issue is resolved in minutes before it can disrupt business operations. And even better, the AI system can learn from this event, proactively adjust workflows to prevent similar failures in the future. So we can think about that this isn't just an automation, it's intelligence in action. And it's important to understand that we're not just fixing problems anymore. We are preventing them from happening in the first place. And that's the power of hybrid AI in mainframe management, shifting from break fix to predict and prevent, and making IT teams more proactive, efficient, and resilient than ever before.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's really the power of having those kind of capabilities so close to the work itself. Um, so it's really going to enhance our ability to have quick responses, I believe. Anthony, I think there's a interesting question here around not just what is hybrid AI, but what does it mean if we're not just dealing with large language models anymore? People used to lump AI in with generative AI when ChatGPT came out and stuff like that, but we obviously realized there's a lot of hype that got involved in that definition. So, a lot of enterprises are real cautious about using large general purpose AI models due to the cost and control concerns, and how do specific language models or specialized models provide a more effective AI approach?
Yeah. Hey, Jason, thanks for the question. Yeah, so there are multiple ways I'm going to have to go about answering this type of question and where it's going to lead us in the future. But yes, one of the things you hit on is, larger language models based on the model could be quite expensive, to run in an organization. But we as an industry, it's not even a BMC thing. We as an industry have learned right now that, specializing language models is something that we want to pursue. We want Instead of looking at LLMs more as a general purpose type of LLMs, we need to add more relevance and context to these LLMs as it relates to the business and what it means to the business. And that's critically important. So whether it's a large language model or a small language model, there's going to be some level of fine tuning that we got to apply to these models to be really, really good at the job that we're asking them to do when it comes to generative AI. So what we like to say here is, we talk about SLMs as small language models. We also like to say SLMs in meaning of specialized language models. And that could come in the form of a large language model or a small language model that has been fine-tuned for a particular purpose. And it's in this fine-tuning of these large language models or these small language models that opens up opportunity in the world of agentics or AI agents. And why are we looking at the world through AI agents at this point? Is because we could develop AI agents to solve particular problems in the enterprise, especially when it comes in the AI ops space with being proactive in issue detection. Not one agent is going to be suitable for all aspects in the AI ops space when dealing with system management and operations. We're going to have a collection of AI agents that will work in collaboration to proactively, as an example, detect problems before they happen and dispatch work to other AI agents, to do notifications or to do remedies, etc. But all of that is going to be driven through these specialized language models in regards to agentic AI. So it's going to be critically important in that space.
So in a sense, Anthony, you're saying it's basically like breaking off a subroutine, right? That can operate basically for its specific task purposes. I mean, we're seeing this. We're seeing hybrid AI defined as basically there's two ways to do it. One is basically you munge all the different types of AI technology together and call it hybrid AI, which is like hybrid cloud or whatever, right? And then the other way is basically saying hybrid AI is treating different models at different specialized levels, right? So you have AIs that are good at talking to you in a natural language, AIs that understand, certain processes on the mainframe, AIs that are great at detecting fraud, right? And then we get into agentic AIs, which, I mean, how are those created? In other words, how is the agent created from all of this?
Yeah. So how does the agent meet specialized language models? How does the agent meet hybrid AI? How does it all come together? Where do they all intersect? That's a great question. When I took a step back and I started looking at how we should be solving problems with AI, and there's a huge industry shift towards agents. The way I like to look at it, related to your example of calling a subroutine, as an architect, I spent many, many years designing systems, and we had a shift, a few years back where we went from the monolith to like the microservice architecture, where we went to specialized services to handle specialized functions within a large architecture. And I'm looking at the AI world in the same way. Instead of having one large language model that's trying to satisfy the needs of everything that we're trying to do with AI, break down that monolith into specialized AI agents. To me, they're analogous to these specialized microservices in a software architecture, right? So that's the way I see it in my architectural brain. So as we move now towards AI agents, we got to look at creating agents that are solving particular problems in respective areas across our entire portfolio. And when we talk about agents, we're not talking about, 5 or 6 different agents. We could have dozens of agents, right? As it relates to the things that we want to do with AI agents. Now, where does this all intersect with, hybrid AI as an example? So we start breaking down the problem into AI agents that are solving particular problems or are very goal-oriented to achieve goals within a workflow, as an example. The internal implementation of those AI agents that we create, they will be utilizing hybrid AI as their backbone. They will be stitching together different AI techniques to solve particular problems. They will have their specialized language model for the role that they're playing. They also would have, we've talked about this before, RAG, retrieval augmented generation, that we need to augment the language models for these agents. RAG pipelines now will be customized for agents. Instead of now having a vector database, as an example, where all kinds of data is going in for all the AI agents. Each AI agent now will have its own specialized vector database that it needs for the work it needs to do. So we'll tie, retrieval augmented generation techniques, specialized language models techniques, and then highly trained AI agents to solve problems across, whether it's AI ops or DevOps, et cetera.
I just wanna add another aspect, Anthony. We are talking about specialized language models and agents. And I think another aspect that is powerful is the collaboration between the agents, right?
Yes.
So when we are looking at the complex environments such as the mainframes, the collaboration between the different agents brings these complex concepts or overseeing many data points into a consolidated and explainable insight for the use of the different personas that we see in the mainframe domain.
Yeah, that's a critically important part of, and thank you for bringing that up, AI agents, is the collaboration piece and the reusability of AI agents to, be brought together in different ways to solve problems in ways that we never thought of before, because we're going to have these agents are reusable. They're developed to solve a particular problem or to achieve a particular goal, but that can be reused across the different workflows that we want to address with agentic AI. Absolutely, collaboration is huge in that space.
Yeah, but it sounds really cool. These agents could just kind of meet and talk amongst themselves and figure out what's wrong.
So we can sit back.
Yeah. Tony, I'm kind of interested, we're talking about these agents kind of going off and doing what they need to do. And the idea of self-healing systems has been around for a while, but what are the realistic possibilities for autonomous AI? And where does autonomous AI make sense? Where can these agents basically sort of self-actualize their work, and when does it not make sense?
Yeah. So to your point, there's nothing really new under the sun, right? I mean, people have been thinking about this or trying to get it as near real time as possible. And I think with a lot of the agentic stuff that are going on in these agents, I think you can finally get into nirvana with this, right? You can get right at real time. An event happens, an agent is there, an agent detects that event, and then takes a course of action, or at least alerts immediately if it's something new that the AI hasn't experienced before and then learned from. I think we often talk in this area about on the development side, right? I think the biggest push in AI so far has been in development, has been in assisting the developer in creating new code or taking old code and making it new again and, cleaning things up, that kind of thing. That's a great use case. But I don't think that we've fully explored where this can be applied in ops. And that's where I think this agentic AI is really going to make a huge hit, because it's been the dream forever of the SRE, of the ops guy, for there to be an issue in pro, or let's say the business, because this is ultimately, it all boils down to dollars and cents. I have an issue in production and I need to bring that issue up because every second, minute, half hour that this is gone, it's costing my business money. I need to bring that up. So if I have an agent that can then detect that, understand a course of action, restart a capability, or basically loop this back into your pipeline so that now I can put a fix in place and immediately restore service, then, I mean, to me, that's gold. That's business gold right there. And, I think it's as this technology and these agents mature and learn, that's where it's going to be. But we also have to factor in that this is, again, I don't want to be the voice of reason on here, but this is new technology and there is going to be fits and starts. There are going to be misapplications. And again, I think staying grounded into areas where it makes a lot of sense to have these agents and AI in place is good. And I think there's going to be a lot of looking over shoulders, meaning you're going to have your agents and they're going to react, but you're still going to want a person to maybe take a look at exactly what's going on until we feel more comfortable. And early in the days of DevOps, this was the way it was. We created automated pipelines to push changes and do X, Y, and Z. But a lot of companies wanted someone to make sure everything was still good. before they did it. And over time, then the trust was built up and you understood that the system was working the way that it should. And, you backed out of that. But I think all that is good. And I hope that as we talk AI, you're going to see a lot of stuff fall out over time, right? Now AI is it's the kryptonite that's, powering everything we do. And I think over time, some things are going to stay, some things are going to go. I think hopefully the thing that stays, and I think where you're going to really see this shine, is in this ops category with the agentic AI.
Yeah, so Tony, can I add something to what you were saying? Agree totally. And we're looking at like phase one of agentic AI is exactly what you described. It's the AI bubbling out their intelligence, keeping the human in the loop with what it's understanding and its finding and its recommendations on what actions could be taken, et cetera, to remedy. That's definitely what we're looking into. And the second part of what related to what you said was, you heard us talk about this before, the hammer and the nail syndrome. We're not looking to just, blitz AI agents through everything that we're doing. We're being very, very careful, very systematic approach to exactly where we apply AI agents to elevate our business value and get more value out of our solutions with those agents. So we're taking very careful steps with that as we move forward.
Yeah, and I think that's the mode that everybody needs to be in for a while. Let's not get over our skis in what we have and what we don't. Because if we treat this right and we cultivate it and we get it across the chasm, it's going to be incredible.
Absolutely. And what your key word that you said, trust. It's building that trust in our solutions with our customers. Yeah.
Yeah, this is that's very interesting. Part of trust is having good conversations. Liat, I know you've been doing some work on the voice assistant side where, we could use natural language to communicate with AI agents and conversational AIs. So, what sorts of considerations should you have when you're setting up a way to have conversational AI in your enterprise IT environment?
So before I answer that, I must admit that I just recently started using Siri, and I think I never want to go back. So imagine Assist troubleshooting a critical mainframe issue, not by sifting through endless logs or escalating to a senior expert, but simply by asking, hey, AI, why is my batch job running slow? In seconds, the AI voice assistant can analyze those log text anomalies and respond. Your job is waiting on a delayed data set. Rerouting resources will speed it up. So no guesswork, no digging, just instant insights. And I think that it's not just a smart FAQ system, right? These AI assistants can take action, for example, securely and intelligently. You could say, restart this job or analyze the last 5 failures. And the AI will execute with built-in governance and approval workflows. And I think if we're looking at the challenges to bridge the voice AI into enterprise IT, I think that security and accuracy are non-negotiable, right? In the consumer world, if your voice assistant misinterprets a request, you might get the wrong playlist. But in enterprise IT, a misunderstanding could disrupt critical operations. And that's why AI for mainframes must have precise technical understanding, this contextual awareness, and strict access control. So we are addressing this with role-based access control, RBAC, to ensure that AI only performs actions authorized for a given user. Context-aware AI also prevents risky or unintended commands. And strict governance ensures that every action is logged and explainable. That's a crucial one. The goal isn't just convenience. It's making the mainframe operation faster and more intuitive, and just as secure as they've always been.
So I want to add something to what Liat was saying there. And so once we start talking about voice assistants and you mentioned Siri, you know what, to me, that just screams out user experience. What is the user experience on top of this whole AI world that we're heading into? So when I hear you talk about that, for me, it's one of the downsides of generative AI today when you use these chat experiences online. It's a passive technology, right? It sits there idle until you go ask it something and you get a response, and then you can have a conversational exchange. But otherwise, it sits there idle. when you have like true voice assistants and these type of technologies, it becomes a two-way highway, meaning that voice assistant could reach out to me and say, hey, you got this critical situation going on, or I see an emerging problem, and here's the reason. You can get these proactive notifications, and then I can respond, with a voice conversation, which to me is more natural than having a textual typing exchange. I could be sitting there in my car driving, my phone is hooked up to my car, and all of a sudden I'm getting an alert from Amy Assistant that there's something transpiring, and I can just have this voice exchange. And to me, that's more natural. So I think that's a very important part of the way we got to look at voice technology as we move forward as it relates to the problems that we're trying to solve, to be more proactive, be more natural conversational type exchange in that regard.
So I was going to geek out a little bit more about it because I remember as a kid watching Star Trek, and I thought it would be so cool if I could just go, hey, computer, make me a mocha frappuccino, or hey, computer, give me a shawarma sandwich. Now, if I ask Siri for a shawarma, I'm probably going to get links to Amazon hand warmers or something like that. Whereas as this goes on, it's getting better and better. So, I mean, just not to get too philosophical on this, but what a time we live in, and the fact that we're at a point where we're now talking about being able to truly interact with the machine and have the machine do what we need it to do on a voice command prompt, right?
Yes.
I feel like we're like the old proverb says, may you live in interesting times. I think we live in interesting times.
Yeah, and to go deeper on that, like you just said, I give a voice prompt, a voice something to it, and it's that high-level AI assistant will then delegate that request down to those AI agents that we're talking about to fulfill that request that came in through that voice prompt or the voice command, whatever it may be. Because, commands are going to be a factor in what we're doing. It's not only about asking what is or how to type questions, right? Eventually, you may get a notification that something's going on, and you can issue a command, a voice command to to the AI agent that will go off and do something, take some action, maybe to get some system off the network if there's something running rogue or whatever it may be. AI agents in the future, we're going to have those actionable capabilities to tie this all together. They're going to be true workers,
Yeah.
and true workers working with each other.
So I think also recently the voice interaction or the voice responses became so sophisticated that you almost feel like you're speaking with a colleague, right? With all the nuance, so you can feel more comfortable. It's less robotic, and I think that's a great way to overcome some of the complexities that we see.
Yes. And as you know, that's our vision with BMC Amy Assistant.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
the point we want to get that capability to.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think we've all sort of touched on this a little bit, but the idea is, how are we going to start relying on these sorts of agents in a reliable way? Like, what is the way to get to a compliant future? Liat, you touched on the idea of having RBAC, but then there's going to be like this machine level RBAC that controls which agents have access to what their actual skill sets are. Like, for each one, it has a certain set of skills, and it talks to the other agents and finds the one that's authorized and has the skills to address a certain problem, right?
Yes.
And so in that sense, overall Amy Cloud AI becomes more of a orchestration layer for all of these sorts of agents that will exist under it, right? How are we going to, go forward in this environment and do so responsibly? Liat, I'll start it with you, and then if you want to pass it from there.
So I think that's, as we mentioned before, AI in mainframes is not just about intelligence, it's about trust. And if AI suggests a fix or optimize a workload, the IT teams needs to know why and how it arrived at that decision, right? That's where explainability comes in. So you can think of it as an AI audit trail. Every insight, every action is transparent and can be justified. Now, compliance is another big one, right? In regulated industries like banking and healthcare, AI decisions must align with strict governance. And that means that AI can't be just a black box. It has to follow auditable rules, ensure data integrity, and meet those industry regulations by design. And the bottom line here is that AI should augment this human expertise and not replace it. And the best AI acts like a co-pilot, empowering the IT teams with smarter insights and automated support while keeping the humans in control. And responsible AI is not just a chat box. It's what makes AI truly viable for those mission-critical mainframe environments.
Yeah. So I want to add something to that, Liat. So we talk about, you and I have plenty of conversations around responsible AI, right? We want to ensure that the AI that we're building and the agents that we're building, we deploy them in ways that, ethical, fair,
Right.
aligned with social and business values, right? We always talk about that when we look at the world through our AI. So actually, we've settled on, I guess 6 principles of a responsible AI that we're going to focus on with our solutions and whatnot as we go forward. But it's around fairness, trust, as Tony brought up before, what Liat just said now. Transparency is important, security and privacy when it comes to the way that we're handling data. And it goes back, Jason, to what you just said about RBAC. And it's not about just the AI agents and what capabilities they have. We have to make sure those capabilities go down to the user level and permission level within those agents so that we could be as granular as we need with AI agents for the type of work that we want it to do. And then reliability, of course, in the way we architect the system. We want to make sure it's a very reliable system. Reliable means not only in the availability of the system itself, but reliability in the consistency of the responses that you get back, right, from it. That's one of the biggest problems I see with a lot of solutions out there that vendors are rolling out is the responses are very inconsistent with a lot of their solutions out there, and that hampers the trust aspect of it. So that's a big thing for us in our approach. And it goes back to something Tony said before: oversight and control. The human stays in control. The human has complete oversight. That's what's happening. They're in complete control about what can and cannot happen with the system as a whole and down to individual users and groups of that system. Everything is in your control. So it's those 6 tenets or the 6 principles that we look at with every solution that we start applying AI to.
Yeah, and I think that again, I'm going to keep hammering this mantra, but there's a saying: slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Meaning,
Yes.
if we go too fast, we're going to get over. I've used the same term again. We're going to get over our skis. We're going to charge into an area too fast, too soon, too quick, too whatever, and there's going to be a problem with that. If we take this slow, we apply it in a measured way, then we get it. Like an oyster with a pearl, right? You basically, you know what I'm saying? You have to go through a few oysters before you actually get to that pearl. And we need to make sure that we're going slow and fast enough that pearl comes out, right? Because not every oyster has a pearl.
Yeah, and I'll give you a good example of that. It seems like right now in this area, it's like a monkey see, monkey do kind of world right now. These vendors or this vendor's doing it this way, let's go that way. These vendors are doing it this way, let's go that way. No. We got to take a step back. What's right for us, to your thing, slow and steady. What's right for us? What's right for our customers as we move forward? We just can't be knee-jerk reaction to every shift that's happening, because I can tell you right now, being involved day to day in this area, the ground is moving constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to take careful steps forward as we move forward and do what's right for our customers in this space.
Yeah, it's exciting to see how BMC is applying this enterprise-wide, really. And it's refreshing because we don't usually see a very concerted strategy in this sense where they're looking at it from that slow and fast perspective of, what is responsible. We don't need to get ahead of the hype. We just need to be making sure that it applies to what our customers are doing right now. With that, I'm going to ask just one more question. But where do you see AI driven mainframe transformation going in the next 5 years or so? I mean, I have some thoughts on it, but mostly I think we've discussed a lot of these topics. I'm seeing more of a sense that if we're going to call it hybrid AI, then it just means we're going to have an orchestration layer atop many specialized AIs with specialized skills that have their own and they're authorized and they interact with us a lot like employees, but they're not employees. They can interact with each other too. But we're going to have sets of responsibilities and skills, and we're going to help use them to bring our skills along as we go on this journey. So any thoughts from the team? Let's just take it around the horn. Start with you, Tony.
I think that you're going to see a lot more capability from a transformation point of view, being able to transform legacy code. I think in the next 5 years, you're going to see right now, I think you're getting a little bit of GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. You take a horrible COBOL program and you run it through this, and then you get an even more horrible Java program or Python or whatever. And I think over time, I think the systems are going to learn, people are going to learn, and I think that's going to get a lot better. So I think the mainframe is going to, in some ways, go away from the traditional mainframe code and some of the archaic code bases. And I think you're going to see a real transformation into some of your more modern languages, more modern workloads. And I think that's something that we should embrace. I don't think that's something to fear. I think that's something we should embrace, because platform in and of itself is still incredible at what it is incredible at. It is still the best platform for batch processing, for data, for large data processing, and nothing's going to change that. Python or whatever. And I think the way IBM is building AI into their platform from the ground up is only going to enhance that. So while I think we have that coming in the next 5 years, I think the future's bright.
Yeah, Liat.
So I think that in 5 years, mainframes won't be just AI assisted. They will be AI optimized or AI act upon. And that relates to the agentic theme that we discussed earlier. I think we'll see also true self-healing systems, a more AI-driven performance tuning, and those intuitive AI copilot that makes the mainframe expertise that is a little bit of being sparse in the recent years, accessible for everyone. And to touch on the hybrid AI, I think it will be the norm to balance between the automation and the human oversight. And at the end, I think we will make mainframe as agile, intelligent, and user-friendly as any modern cloud system, while keeping their legendary reliability intact.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to go completely different from what Tony and Liat said, and I don't want to go any deeper with I think we did enough about AI agents as it relates to operations and the DevOps space and running and the business. Well, I think we all know that we have a retiring workforce concern with our platform, and over the next 5 years, it's going to be a critical transition for many of our customers, right, in that space, and how to shorten that knowledge gap, how to get the next generation. So I think the capabilities of the platform and the things that Liat said about the platform, that will attract that talent to our platform, right? We love our platform. We want to attract talent to our platform, but attracting to this the talent to the platform in conjunction with the retiring workforce, I think AI agents could be pinnacle in training and education and being the that partner for that next generation mainframer working in the space to help fill that gap, be that experience, that expert in a box, that domain expert that they can lean on about the platform specifics, not necessarily about the business side of it, just learning and understanding the platform and the things they need to do there. I see it being a viable and really important teaching tool using these agents in that way moving forward.
That's a really good point. I like that. That's a very, very good point.
Yeah. If they can help us not be scared of this future, that's even better, right? I mean,
yes, exactly.
Like with people retiring, it sounds scary to get in there with jump into a Kix region and start messing around when that's not what you learned in school, but it really isn't that scary if you have the help of all of that knowledge transferred and with assistance that can really help you get there. I think that's going to be a big part of it.
I think if each and every one of us takes ourselves out of where we are today and just think back when we all started in this field, how scary and intimidating it was, and we had experts around us in this. Now I think how people feel today coming in with is not so many experts around anymore. So AI can play a huge role in that.
Yeah, agreed. Well, thanks everyone. This has been quite a discussion. I really enjoyed it. Matt, you want to take us now?
Yeah. And it has been a great discussion. I've enjoyed it as well. So, Jason, Liat, Tony, Anthony, thanks again for taking the time to join us today and engage in this great discussion.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks.
And thank you to our listeners. Be sure to check the show notes for links to more coverage of AI and its role on the mainframe. And keep in mind, we'd love to hear from you. So please feel free to reach out and let us know your thoughts. We'll talk to you again soon on the Modern Mainframe. Take care. You're listening to the Modern Mainframe, BMC's Intelligence-Z Optimization and Transformation podcast, covering the latest trends and issues in mainframe DevOps, data, operations, security, and cloud. You've never mainframed like this.